Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video today, I want to talk about wide angle lenses, specifically the Canon 16-35 2.8 version 3 lens. Yeah, let's talk about it. All right, so this lens I bought, I bought it maybe 2 months ago. It's a new lens for me, but it's been around for a while and it's gone through its few iterations. There's the version 1, version 2, version 3, and then there's also the f4 version of this lens. This is probably the most expensive lens I own. I think Canadian, it's anywhere from $2,200 to $2,800. So very expensive lens, kind of hovering around the $2,400 mark. Super pricey for sure. But this lens is beautiful. This lens is so solid. The build quality of this thing is insane. It's like, it's huge, it's big, but it's like any L glass that you get from Canon. Super solid. f2.8, that glass tends to be a little bit more beefy, I would say. A little bit bigger. That is the downside of having the 2.8 versions of these lenses. And definitely with that size, it just feels a little bit more robust and sturdy. I bought this lens because I wanted a wide angle lens, because moving from crop sensor to full frame, I wanted something that was kind of similar to the Tokina lens I had, which was 11-16. And so I got this 16-35. It is great for landscapes, super wide shots, indoors, those kinds of things at the 60 mark. And then I also love the 35mm focal length for like photojournalism type stuff, portraits, those kinds of things, kind of a wider portrait. And I wanted to get 2.8 because, I mean, the dream 35mm lens is the 1.4 prime. So 2.8 still give me a little more room to get that blurry background. I can still get some of that out of focus and it'll still look a little bit compressed and it'll look nice. And then I have both a nice wide lens and a 35mm in one lens that I can also use for portraits. Don't think many people would pick this lens for portraits, but I kind of want to just have that combo in one lens, and that's kind of why I opted for this one over the f4 version, which wouldn't give me as much depth of field or let as much light in. This lens is super sharp. It's so sharp. It's quick focusing. It snaps right into focus. Things are tack sharp on it. Obviously, if you're shooting super wide, if you're zooming in like 400% on a photo, it's not going to be as sharp because it's a wide angle. So as far as things that are close to the lens when you take photos, those will be super sharp, and things that are further off, there's so much detail in the distance that it's hard to stay sharp all the way out until you're shooting things that are kilometers away if you're doing a landscape or something like that. No image stabilization on this lens, only autofocus, manual focus switch on the side. The f4 version of this lens has image stabilization, and I've kind of been wavering a little bit recently and thinking, what if I sold this for like around $2,000 and bought the f4 version, which is half that, about $1,000, and then I would have an extra $1,000 to invest in other glass. I would have image stabilization on this lens. It'd be a wide angle lens, and then maybe with that extra $1,000 I'd buy a 35mm or something, just strictly prime. But my whole thing with buying this lens was to cut down on gear and have something that can kind of do two things in one, which doesn't mean they do. It does landscapes and everything really well. Portraits, not as well as a 35mm prime, but it's kind of like, that's kind of like a little bit of a sacrifice that you have to make when you want something that does more than one job. Either you get one lens that does one job really well, or you get one lens that does multiple jobs fairly well. But yeah, I like this lens. This one is, I mean, huge. 82mm filter threads on this thing. It's all internal zoom, which is amazing. Nothing's extending out of the barrel of the lens, which is great. You got your weather sealing, easy to move focus ring. The throw on it isn't too far. Like that's starting at the closest focusing distance and then all the way to infinity. So it's pretty quick. Same with the zoom. It's like nice and short, which is great. You don't have to be cranking the rings forever and ever to get to where you want to be. So Yeah, overall, this lens is amazing. Pros, super sharp, super versatile, super durable. It's 2.8, which is amazing, which is nice. Especially for video work and stuff, if I'm to do weddings, if I need like establishing shots when it's lower light, having a 2.8 lens is amazing for wedding films. Just overall a beautiful piece of glass. Cons, I would say, it's big, it's pretty heavy, it's expensive, lacks autofocus, and that's kind of like one of its biggest downsides. But the autofocus isn't a big deal to me right now. Maybe once I start shooting a lot more video with it, I'll worry, but since it is so wide, image stabilization is, for me, it's a little bit negligible, unless you're zoomed into that 35, but yeah, it's not a big stress or worry for me. But yeah, overall, beautiful lens. I'd highly recommend in 2020, even though it is a few years old. And yeah, like I say, there's the version 1, the version 2 as well. Lots of people use the version 2. It's a little smaller and very, very, very similar. Yeah, I ended up finding the version 3. I also bought it secondhand, like I do with most of my gear. And yeah, so I saved a bit of money, and this is just the one I found. I didn't find the version 2, so found this one. Works great, love it. And yeah, I would recommend, if you are looking for something wide to get a 16-35, get the f4 if you just need a wide lens, like for landscape photos or things like that. But if you're really wanting to kind of kill two birds with one stone and have like that 35mm portrait look in the same lens, then maybe opt for the 2.8, and then you can also have that as well. But if you don't mind carrying around the extra glass, I'd go f4 version and then also get a 35mm 1.4. And you will pay a little more, but the price is gonna be similar to this lens, just a little bit higher, I would say. So, and again, it depends what kind of deals you find, if you buy used, if you buy new, all those different things. So yeah, that's kind of my quick overview on this 16-35. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you clicking on this video. Hopefully it was helpful to you. Please like this video if you did in fact like it. Please subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that. Comment any video ideas you have, and I just hope that if it's the morning or the evening or wherever in the world that you are, you're just having a great day and you're doing well. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.